On Tech News Today, the FCC chairman comes out in favor of strong net neutrality, even for mobile networks. Plus, China institutes a nationwide real names policy, and Apple may be launching a search engine to compete with Google. Bloomberg View and Mashable are here, so stick around. Tech News Today is next.
This is Twit.
Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today for Wednesday, February 4th, 2015. This episode is brought to you by Personal Capital. With Personal Capital, you can grow and protect all your wealth. Best of all, it's free. And for a limited time, Twit viewers could qualify for up to $10,000 on any new account. To sign up, go to personalcapital.com/TNT. And by Prosper. Prosper is a peer-to-peer lending marketplace that connects people who are looking to borrow money with those who have money to lend. Visit prosper.com/twit and receive a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Tech News Today is the show where we talk about the tech news with the journalists who report it. It's Facebook's birthday today. The Facebook, launched February 4th, 2004. It's already 11 years old. It all happened in Mark Zuckerberg's Harvard dorm room. He and a few other guys basically launched this thing, and it turned into the monster that ate the internet. My name is Mike Elgan. Soon we'll be joined by co-anchor Bloomberg View tech columnist Katie Benner. She'll be on in just a few minutes. But first, I want to launch right into our top story. FCC Chairman Tom Wheeler detailed his plan to reclassify ISPs as common carriers under Title II of the Telecommunications Act. He did it in an article on Wired, of all places. He wrote that these enforceable bright line rules, I don't know what bright line means, will ban paid prioritization and the blocking and throttling of lawful content and services. Surprisingly, Wheeler's proposal also includes wireless networks. We'll introduce our interview guest in a sec, but I want to welcome co-anchor Katie Benner. How you doing, Katie?
Hey, I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, thank you. I told you before the show I wanted to talk about an article you wrote recently. We'll talk about it at the end of the show, if you don't mind.
Sure.
But for now, I want to introduce Jason Abbruzzese, who wrote about this FCC news for Mashable. Welcome to you, Jason.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Now, you were in the middle of a call. You stepped off that FCC call to join this show, so we'll get you back on that call in just a sec. Now, this is a nightmare scenario for the Comcasts and the AT&Ts of the world. What are they likely to do in response to what Tom Wheeler's proposing here?
I can only imagine that their lawyers are feverishly working already to prepare to meet the FCC in court to challenge these new rules. The ISPs have already said as much if Wheeler was to pursue the Title II reclassification that they're going after. This will, if these rules do get voted into place later in February, it's not going to be the end of the story. Unfortunately, we're going to see, months and months of court battles after this.
Do you think this is really going to de-incentivize people from investing in faster networks, as some people have claimed?
Well, I guess, one immediate indication we have is the stock market. And interestingly enough, a lot of the stocks of Comcast, Time Warner Cable, Cablevision, Charter, a lot of these providers shot up immediately after the news. And one of the reasons seems to be is that some of the language isn't as aggressive as people had maybe expected. And there's also seems to be this thing called forbearance. Basically, what the FCC is saying is that we can choose to only apply certain pieces of Title II to gain the net neutrality principles that we want, while also not subjecting these companies to the onerous regulations that would stymie investment and hurt their bottom line.
Now, you obviously read the Tom Wheeler post on Wired, and you were on the call. What did you learn on the call that you didn't learn in the Tom Wheeler post?
Well, actually, a lot of what's available now is on a fact sheet on the FCC's website. So I think that's where a lot of the more detailed information is coming out. Among these things is that interconnections are going to be looked at very closely by the FCC. I think people have heard terms like peering interconnection. It's basically where networks meet, the actual connections that they form that form our internet, our internetwork. These junction points are very important, and they've been looked at as a place where a lot of companies are having disagreements about how data is handled and how connections are invested in and kept up. the FCC will start looking at that piece of the internet infrastructure, and that's a really important small piece of this puzzle.
So then one last question. In addition to litigation, what can we expect going forward?
I think you're going to have a big fight on your hands. This is definitely close to the worst case scenario for the ISPs. It's close to the best case scenario for net neutrality advocates. Two sides that are pretty bitterly split. It's going to be very interesting to see how the vote goes in the FCC. They still need to vote on this. I believe the date will be February 26th. So, we're going to be having an ongoing debate about the eventual ramifications of these rules and what they mean for the internet going forward. And whether they're good for consumers, as Tom Wheeler says, or if they're going to hold us back from, becoming a, 22nd century internet country like the ISPs do.
Wheeler said, quote, "My proposal assures the rights of internet users to go where they want, when they want, and the rights of innovators to introduce new products without asking anyone's permission." That is the right thing to say. Let's see if the government can really pull this off, and I'm certainly rooting for the forces in the government who are in favor of net neutrality. And the AT&Ts and the Comcasts of the world can bite me, basically. I don't care what they want. We need net neutrality. This is forever, and it's like the most important decision the government's going to make this decade, I think. Jason Abbruzzese is at Mashable.com, and you can follow him on Twitter at Jason Abbruzzese. Thanks for joining us, Jason.
Yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Got some more news for you from China specifically, but first I want to talk about Personal Capital. Personal Capital is free, and it gives you free software and free apps, including an app for your Android Wear watch that helps you make smarter financial decisions. We can all use help with finances, especially since most of us are not financial experts like Katie Benner is, actually, but most of us are not. And so, you can manage your entire financial life from one secure place. You can reach your goals faster with Personal Capital. You can monitor your income, monitor your spending, and monitor the performance of your investments in real time on a single, easy-to-read screen. That's right. You basically plug in all your financial accounts, and it brings it all together so you can get an intuitive sense of what's happening with your money or what isn't happening with your money, whatever the case may be. And you can also save a lot of money. You can eliminate high mutual fund and 401k fees and other hidden brokerage fees. Very, very helpful. And again, it's free. So go to Personal Capital now and set up your free account. And for a limited time, if you qualify, Personal Capital will give you $100 for every $100,000 you deposit, up to $10,000. That's personalcapital.com/TNT. And we thank Personal Capital for their support of Tech News Today. China has a new real names policy for all internet users nationwide. Yeah, that's right. As the United States looks like it's going to be getting a little freer, China sounds like they're going to get a lot more oppressed. The Chinese government today announced new laws that require users to register with their real legal names, and the new laws ban the posting of any content that runs counter to Chinese interests as defined by the Chinese government. The new laws apply to blogs, microblogs, instant messaging services, online discussion forums, news comment sections, and more, according to the Cyberspace Administration of China. Social posts and comments by people using fake names, quote, polluted the internet ecology, harmed the interests of the masses, and seriously violated core socialist values, unquote. The government will require all internet companies to hire dedicated staff whose sole job is to implement the laws. And these new laws go into effect March 1st. Katie Benner, this is a catastrophe, a slow-moving catastrophe for China. They've been implementing so many of these draconian, super restrictive policies on the users of China. My big question here is, what is this going to do to the economy? Is this going to have a negative effect on the economy at some point?
What's so interesting is that not only have Chinese internet companies been sort of giving into into a more repressive government more and more, so have U.S. internet companies, frankly. There's all this talk about whether or not Facebook is going to get into China. LinkedIn is already there, but Google's going to do about China. And I think that people have come to the conclusion that most of these companies want to be in there so badly, they're willing to play ball. LinkedIn, Apple, already there. So there's a chance that this won't actually hurt the economy because companies want to be in China and they want a piece of the China market so badly that they're willing to go along with this. And that is actually very, very disturbing. I think for a long time, I lived in China from 2000 to 2004. People were constantly talking about two things that were going to make China a more free and open place. One was the advent of true capitalism flourishing, and the other was the internet. And we've seen the government be able to basically continue to have a very repressive regime while still reaping the benefits of capitalism and internet companies. It's shocking.
I think you may be right about this particular law. This may repress sort of creative expression because, of course, once you're using your real name, you're less likely to say what you really think if you can't use a pseudonym. But I think that the recently announced law that they are actually the recently announced technology that enables the Chinese government to literally crack down on VPNs, which I think that's going to affect the economy because so many professionals in China have been using VPNs to keep up with their colleagues abroad. And I think China is in the
Yes.
place right now. I think they're kind of following Japan's trajectory, decades ago, where they went from a sort of copycat nation to, at some point, transitioning to an innovator. That's what happened. Which it's hard to remember now, but in the 60s and the 70s in the in the global economy, Japan was kind of like China is now, with a lot of counterfeit products and a lot of low quality products manufactured very cheaply, and they became this leading innovator in terms of patents and so on. I think China is on a trajectory to get there if they're not derailed by this sort of thing. I mean, how do you become a leading nation in terms of patents and science and all these other things if you don't know what's happening in Europe and Japan and the United States and elsewhere? It's really, I think that's the biggest problem. But this is yet another one in terms of freedom of expression. Let me very quickly tell what they're talking about. This ban includes anything that violates the law, so you can't talk about that. Anything that harms national security, anything that involves national secrets, incites ethnic discrimination or hatred, or harms national unity. Now, this national unity bit, I mean, if this is interpreted by the government, that can include all kinds of things. Like, for example, protesting in Tiananmen Square might be an expression of, something that harms national unity. And of course, the promotion of pornography, gambling, violence, terror, superstition, and rumors, So if you can't even talk about rumors, then, that's a problem as well.
Sure. I completely agree with you. And the VPN issue is huge for any multinational company. So we're going to see, especially U.S. companies, have to weigh very carefully what they're going to do. There have already been stories about how some companies, larger manufacturers, have decided it's easier just to move to Singapore.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, Google moved to Hong Kong, and I think that helped a little. I'm not really sure how that helped. It's the same government, essentially. But anyway, we'll keep an eye on this and see if this ongoing crackdown, which is part of a wider crackdown under President Xi Jinping, will continue. So I don't know what else they have to restrict, but there's a lot going on there. Well, two unlikely nuggets of information suggest that Apple may be getting into two core Google businesses. Excuse me. First, a blog associated with CBS radio affiliate KPIX5 posted pictures of a Street View-like car loaded with cameras in every direction, which the station confirmed was leased to Apple. This car is similar to previous eyewitness reports and a video posted on YouTube in September. So it appears that Apple may be working on a Street View-like feature for Apple Maps. That's one leading theory. The other piece of information appeared on the Cult of Mac blog. A blogger for that site spotted a job listing for someone based in San Francisco to manage a search platform supporting hundreds of millions of users. Now, of course, this is all in the realm of speculation with some facts to back up that speculation. One bit of speculation is that the Street View cars could actually be a self-driving car type of thing. That sounds unlikely to me, but what do you think, Katie?
Well, it sounds like the Apple is trying to get ready to live in a post relationship with Google world, right? Right now they have this search relationship with Google, which is great. And a lot of people speculate that will end. So that's one possibility. Then, of course, the other is that all of these companies, Apple and Google in particular, are trying to be leaders in the Internet of Things. They're trying to be leaders in what it means to have the dominant platform going forward for Internet companies, for connected companies. And I think that mapping technology is key to that. And so why wouldn't Apple want to have a better set of maps? And this might be part of that as well.
Exactly. I mean, I don't think we're seeing yet a global initiative like Google has been pursuing for a long time with Street View. The search part of it could be related to either Siri or Spotlight search, so we don't know for sure that they're going to come out with Apple search, it's sort of Google search type of thing. And it's also interesting to note that Apple's long-running search deal with Google for Safari expires this year. So we really don't know what's going on here. And finally, it has to be said, Katie, that, a company like Apple that has so many billions of dollars lying around in I imagine giant piles, like the Batman movie with Joker putting the guy on top and all that stuff. I imagine that, just what if scenarios. Let's play around with this and see how it goes or whatever. Little projects to just put their toe in the water are essentially free for companies like Apple. They've got so much money, it's not going to really cost them anything. So why not just check it out and see what the data looks like, see how it helps the maps, and we'll make a decision later, that sort of thing. And that's a very real possibility here.
People always underestimate, too, how much data Apple has on us. I mean, we carry these phones around all the time. I don't wear a Fitbit, I don't wear an Up, but Apple knows pretty much everywhere I've been. It knows when I'm sleeping because it's the 6 hours that the phone's dormant. It knows what I look for. I mean, so Apple also already has so much rich data on us that who really knows what it would be doing with these things? Because it could, anything, it's already starting from a very strong position.
Yeah. And of course, they have our credit cards. Very important.
Yes, that too.
Well, in just a sec, we have some follow-ups for you, but let's talk first about Prosper, our other sponsor today. Prosper is the original peer-to-peer lending marketplace. It connects people who are looking to borrow money with people who have money to lend. You can borrow up to $35,000 in as few as 5 days. You can buy a new car. You can buy a new car with cameras all over it and compete with Google and Apple in the Street View racket. You can pay for a wedding, medical bills, start a new business, fix up your house, pay off high-rate credit cards. So much you could do with a good loan. And here's how it works. Basically, borrowers choose a loan amount, purpose, and post a loan listing. Investors choose the loan listing they want to invest in, and borrowers make fixed monthly payments, and investors get paid. It's fast and easy, and online borrowing is flexible, too. So for a limited time, Prosper is offering Twit fans a $50 Visa prepaid card when you get a loan. Just go to prosper.com/twit, and that's a special site just for the Twit Army. Up to $35,000 in just 5 days, and a $50 Visa prepaid card. Just go to prosper.com/twit. We got some follow-ups for you. We've been covering for a year the growing list of companies testing drones for package delivery. These include Amazon, Google, UPS, DHL in Germany, and the French postal service La Poste. Well, now the Taobao division of China's largest online retailer, Alibaba, is testing quadrocopters for deliveries. Alibaba's test will involve actual deliveries to actual customers in major cities, including Beijing, Shanghai, and Guangzhou. The test will take place for just 3 days, and the only product delivered will be a specific brand of ginger tea. So if you drink that kind of ginger tea, you could be getting a drone delivery. Hopefully it will not shred your dogs in the propellers. Now, this ginger tea weighs only 12 ounces. So that's the sort of test part of this. They're not delivering anvils and bowling balls. They're delivering something that almost weighs nothing. And so, Katie Benner, I think this is kind of interesting. Everybody wants to deliver by drones. It still seems to me like a horrible idea. You got power lines, you have buildings, you have all kinds of, you have people with shotguns, you have all kinds of things that could bring these drones down or cause the drones to injure people. But I guess they have to test it. What do you think?
Well, it's true. I mean, you could also accidentally land your drone on the lawn of the White House. Things could go wrong. So I think what's interesting is to take a step back and look at a different sort of logistics network that has been tested out for a couple of years now, which is the ride-hailing services that we see, the Ubers and the Lyfts of the world, which are trying to move slowly to driverless cars. Like, what can we do with logistics once we take the human beings out of this scenario? They feel that there are limitless possibilities. What's happening right now with these delivery companies and drones is kind of similar. They're saying to themselves, what can we do if we take FedEx and UPS out of this situation and take, in large part, human beings out as well? Can we still get people their packages? Can we still run a massive logistics network? You're right that drone delivery is probably far off, but do you think it's further off than driverless cars? Who do you think is going to get there first? Will it be the Amazons and the Alibabas of the world who are able to do logistics without humans before the Googles and the Ubers of the world were able to do it?
Now, Jason, I just threw a video into the chat there. I didn't put it in the doc here, but let's take a look at this because this is actually a really cool video if you've got that already. Yeah. Okay, let's take a look at that. They're trying to out Amazon with this video. And I think they succeed. This is a great video. They have better music than Amazon, too. I don't know what the stove has to do with anything. Yeah, there you go. It's boiling the water for the tea, I guess. Amazon's video just had the thing flying over the open field between Amazon's factory and your house. But this one's actually going over cities and freeways. Yeah. They're going to be delivering within a 1 mile range of their distribution centers in those 3 cities I mentioned. All right, that's enough. We get the idea. It's a drone with a T on the bottom. Very cool though. So I love it, and this is another reason why the U.S. needs to loosen up its laws for testing this kind of stuff, because the world is moving forward with using drones, and so we need to keep up there. We've got some product updates for you. A new update to Facebook's Instagram app will make all videos on the site loop infinitely. That is, starting over from the beginning each time they end, with no ability for users to turn off the looping. The infinite loop feature affects both user-created videos and, of course, advertising videos. So this sort of brings it into line with Vine. And I think, this is an inevitability, Katie Benner, that videos are going to be looping forever, auto-playing, all the rest. Whatever will put those videos in our face, especially the advertising videos, is going to happen.
Yeah, I saw that and it made me laugh. I just thought, I wonder how many views they're going to count it as if it loops infinitely in front of my face while I'm doing something else. Because you know that Facebook, you only have to look at an advertisement, I think, for 3 seconds for it to count as an impression. Right. So if it's looping infinitely, I mean, they can tell advertisers that we're really watching those videos.
Right. Katie Benner goes off on vacation and comes back to discover that she viewed the video 12 million times. And we'll be getting some ads on her browser next time she goes online. Well, in security news, a newly discovered Internet Explorer vulnerability allows attackers to steal login credentials and inject malicious content into the browser, even in fully patched versions of IE. Users would get such content only if they were lured to malicious websites, most likely through a phishing attack, a text, or social media post. The bug affects IE 11 running Windows 7 or Windows 8.1, and thankfully, Microsoft is working on a fix. And yet again, it's another reason to never use IE. That's just my personal opinion. And
to never open an email that looks possibly even a little bit suspicious. If it says there's an attachment, do not click.
Even if it's from your mother, they could be spoofing mom. Exactly. And you just can't trust anyone these days. Well, a new report from the Avast antivirus team says many apps on Google Play are packed with adware. Some of these apps have been downloaded by millions of users, and some of the adware redirects users to major and legitimate security apps, suggesting that major companies may be paying for the redirect. In mergers and acquisitions, or in this case, divestitures, I guess is more accurate, Yahoo will spin off a unit called Small Business as the company that will receive the 384 million shares of Chinese Alibaba Group stock that Yahoo's been planning to spin off for a long time. The newly formed company will be called, wait for it, SpinCo, and will be formed by the end of the year. The change should give Yahoo shareholders a big tax break. Now, Katie Benner, you write about this kind of thing all the time, about financial things that big corporations do. In this case, my understanding is that they have to have some company that is an ongoing concern that does real business of some kind. They can't just come up with a phony company and go rent a P.O. box or something like that and call it a company. It has to be a real company that's been around. Is that accurate?
That is accurate, and this sort of thing is pretty common practice. It happens often. It's not just something that Yahoo made up in order to divest its Alibaba stake, so this is common. I think it's nice that they're calling it SpinCo and not multi-billion-dollar tax dodge company, so there's that. And I think that when Yahoo announced this plan, it was a real relief to the stock market because people were worried that they wouldn't come up with a way to, or the company wouldn't decide to do this. It was always a possibility, but people were worried that Yahoo would want to hold on to its Alibaba stake to do bigger M&A.
Yeah, so good news for Yahoo investors. Well, in coming attractions, Android Headlines is reporting that Xiaomi will make a big announcement in San Francisco, California on February 12th. The report is based on unnamed sources, but it's also worth noting that Xiaomi co-founder Lin Bin posted on his Weibo profile a picture of a new group of people who he called a new team, and he promised to announce news of a big international expansion in the following month. So it looks like there are probably one of two possibilities, as far as I can tell, Katie Benner. One is that they're going to come out as a big provider of smartphones for the United States market, working with carriers and so on. That's one possibility. The second is that they'll have a big research department, or maybe something like what Samsung does with a big software startup incubator kind of a push. But I think this is inevitable. Of course, Xiaomi is just unstoppable in China, really. Their growth has been phenomenal. And of course, they're going to want to go into the big markets abroad as well. Any thoughts on this at all?
Yeah, I mean, if it is the first, if they really have decided to nail down deals with carriers and we'll be able to get a Xiaomi phone, which I would love to get, I'm wondering what the app situation is like for that. Because in China, one of the reasons they've been very successful is because they have great software that appeals specifically to that market. But if I have a Xiaomi phone, will I be able to access all the apps that I'm able to get in the App Store and the things that I really like from Google Play?
You know, it's for many, many years, I've had conversations with people who, we talking about the rise of China as a consumer electronics company and a provider of computer stuff generally. And, we always used to say, but what's the #1 Chinese brand? And it used to be you couldn't think of any. And I think within 2 years, 1 year or 2 years, that is going to change completely. I think the Xiaomis of the world are going to be as familiar to American consumers as LG or Samsung, maybe not Samsung, but as other major electronics brands. And that's, part of the inevitable evolution of China into a major player. And this might be kind of the beginning of that, I guess. Yeah. We got some big numbers for you. 15 million. That's roughly how many dollars last year at the hack attack on Sony Pictures Entertainment cost the company. Okay, here's another number. 20.2 billion. That's how many dollars Silicon Valley and San Francisco attracted in venture capital last year, according to the Silicon Valley Index. You can see why they invest so much. I mean, you can sell a single company for more than that these days to Facebook. And so that's really not a lot of money considering how many of some of these startups have actually earned in just, cashing out. Okay, 214,000. That's how many individuals and companies Google banned from its online ads network in 2014. If that sounds like a lot, how about 524 million? That's how many ads Google banned last year. That's a lot of banning. How do they ban so many sites and so many ads? It's just, it must be fully automated.
Well, I guess when they need to hire that person in China who does nothing but make sure that everybody has a true identity, they'll have a pool of employees to choose from who've done other sorts of mundane work.
That's right. Well, a Hollywood Report, South by Southwest will host the world premiere of a new documentary by Alex Gibney called Steve Jobs, the Man in the Machine. We don't have enough Steve Jobs movies these days, and so it's nice that somebody's making one. This is actually a documentary, and hopefully it'll be interesting. Hopefully it'll shed new light. Most of the Steve Jobs movies and documentaries and TV shows and all that stuff trot out the same information. The days in the wilderness, the trip to India, the launching in the garage, which, according to Steve Wozniak, didn't really happen. They didn't really do anything in the garage. That was just the address of the company, and so on. So hopefully there'll be some fresh information in this particular one.
I remember Alex Gibney is a really well-respected documentary filmmaker, and he made The Smartest Guys in the Room, which is the investigation of Enron documentary, as well as a pretty deep investigation into Elliot Spitzer. I believe it was called Client 9. And both of those were excellent, and they did shed new light on both of those very thoroughly reported situations. So I'm optimistic. I
also believe that he's the filmmaker that made the current Scientology documentary that's been controversial, and that's employing a lot of lawyers on both sides, called Getting Clear. So sounds like a successful documentary filmmaker. So we'll look forward to that at South by Southwest. Well, in news you could lose, McDonald's shut down its last restaurant in Iceland during the economic meltdown there over 5 years ago. But before it closed, you can go ahead and throw up that site, Jason. Before it closed, a man bought a burger and fries there, which he kept on a shelf for a year before that was put into the National Museum in Iceland. Now the less than happy meal is on display at the Bust Hostel in Reykjavik. And they've got a webcam pointed at it. This is live, ladies and gentlemen. Anything could happen. This is the burger and fries. You'll notice no decay, no mold, no decomposition. Man, that is not healthy food right there. Food is supposed to decay, folks. It's supposed to, biodegrade after 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Wow. Anyway, you can check that out. We'll see if anything happens to it over the next century. Well, our TNT fan of the day is Jason Colby in Coventry, Rhode Island, who posted this selfie on Google Plus showing himself, his phone, playing Tech News Today, of course, and his snow shovel. And I think there's a lot of people out there doing the same thing he is, shoveling the snow and listening to Tech News Today. How do you watch or listen to TNT? Just record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup and post it on Google Plus, Twitter, or Facebook. use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT and we will find it. And that is the Tech News Today. Katie Benner, now you wrote an interesting piece. We reported the news this week about Radio Shack, their coming bankruptcy, and several companies who are thinking about picking up some of these stores at pennies on the dollar, by the way. And Amazon was one of them. And it raised the question why the heck Amazon would want Radio Shack stores. Can you shed some light on this? You wrote a really interesting piece on this, and I think you're the person to do it.
Sure, no problem. So there are a couple of different reasons, but one is that Amazon hardware actually really does drive shopping on Amazon.com. There are a lot of studies saying that if people are members of Amazon Prime or if they own a Kindle tablet, that they're much more likely to spend money on Amazon. Now, as we also know, Amazon's hardware, they haven't had any big hits, I think, is a polite way of saying it. Nobody really bought the Fire phone. People do use the Kindle readers and the Kindle tablets, but other than that, they have the Echo speaker and a couple of other things. But they haven't really been successful there. And one reason is, people close to this plan say that it's because there is no store, and the Apple Store presence has been extremely helpful. It's allowed people to come in, touch the devices, get to know them, feel like they're part of this club of users. So that's one reason, which is just to drive sales at Amazon.com, which help kind of fund all the company's other projects. The other is that the locations would be used as pick-up and drop-off locations for consumers who need to return or get goods. This is very interesting because Amazon's long relied on UPS, and I think that when you look at what's happening with drones and when you look at sort of some of the things that they've said around holidays and holiday shipping logistics, Amazon is a company that's really interested in logistics and that's very interested in figuring out how to get us our goods as quickly as possible and take out as many other companies and layers as possible, so that they would be trying to use these locations to do that, to some degree, makes sense. They just opened their first sort of brick and mortar location at Purdue for college students to use. And it will be a place where students can come in, and it's very much a logistics hub where they can come in and rent and get textbooks and materials. So this sort of all is starting to fit together.
And become loyal Amazon customers before they graduate, which is important. Also, Amherst is getting one of those, and something lesser, sort of, I guess, store, if you will, a co-branded store at UC Davis here in California. So that will be interesting as well. Katie Benner is at BloombergView.com, and you can follow her on Twitter at KTBENNER. Thank you so much for co-anchoring today, Katie Benner, and we will see you next week.
Have a great day.
All right, you too. You can subscribe to Tech News Today on YouTube. Just go to youtube.com/technewstoday and click on the subscribe button. Or you can subscribe to any number of channels at twit.tv/TNT. You can watch us live every weekday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern, 1800 UTC at live.twit.tv, or on the app or browser plugin of your choice. If you're ever near Petaluma, California, come on in and watch us live. You can follow us on Twitter at Tech News Today TV, and you can also follow me personally on Google+. Just go to Elgan.com, and that will redirect to my Google+ profile. Please send us your thoughts and opinions. Send email to tnt@twit.tv or call 260-TNT-SHOW. And don't miss our evening newscast, Tech News Tonight at 4 p.m. Pacific tonight and every weeknight right here on the Twit Network. My name's Mike Elgan. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.